Good day, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the GearyCast, the number one podcast for all Malaga fans. I am Luke Chambers, your host for this evening, and yes, we are safe. Malaga have survived the 2024-25 season and will be competing next season in La Liga Hypermotion. In this episode, we will be looking back at our survival decided in La Rosaleda versus Sporting Gijon. Of course, I cannot celebrate on my own. So tonight, we pulled in the big guns. We pulled in GearyCast royalty. He's usually reporting on the Champions League or La Liga, but when he's not there, you'll find him back home with the GearyCast. It's, of course, Alex Axmore. How are you, my friend? It's been a while.
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's good to be here. And yes, I don't want to get too big for my boots. I'll always come back to, I wanted to say little old Malaga, but it sounded a little bit condescending. Malaga is obviously, as all of us, love to follow and keep up to date with what's going on. And I bore my colleagues with we beat Sporting Gijon at the weekend and we're now safe. And they're like, yeah, come on, mate. And no one wants to hear about that. And I'm like, yeah, but we're another season in Segunda. How good is that?
Yeah, that would be my next question, to be honest, Alex. Is there much Malaga talk in the Champions League studios, or?
It doesn't get the attention it perhaps maybe should is probably the wrong word, but I look at the league and it's an entertaining league. We show it live on Sporty TV. Shameless plug, sorry, I know.
Oh, there we go. It took 2 minutes, Alex.
And it's an exciting league to watch, even if it's a game between two teams that you have no affiliation to, whether it's a Mirandes or a Huesca or an Eibar. And for those who have find not just the football interesting, but the town and the I guess the Spanish side of things interesting as well, to read up on teams. And you think 5-10 years ago, if you'd asked me Mirandes, where's that? I'd be clueless. But now obviously I know the town and then the river that runs through it, and you learn these little things. And no, I mean, it's I think also takes away from the pressure when you're talking about it, and Malaga can't get relegated. That makes things feel a little bit better.
Yeah, it makes everything so much more enjoyable. And we were just talking off air about maybe sometimes we feel a bit negative and a bit down when Malaga don't win, but this is 100% a celebration one. And I kind of know the answers to this one, Alex, but what have you been up to this week then? Because this gets interesting, guys.
So this last week, I've been all around Spain. I've been to Castellón and Villarreal, as it's called, or Villarreal as the football team is called, but the town is spelt with one L. I've been to Gran Canaria, and I've been with the Leganés lads, following in their battle for survival. And actually tomorrow, we're now speaking on a Tuesday. Tomorrow on a Wednesday, I'm going to their training ground to speak to their goalkeeper, Marko Dimitrovic. So that should be interesting. And been a busy week. Obviously tomorrow, I think there's a game on tomorrow evening in some European competition.
There's a game. I wasn't going to mention it, but there is a game. I'll leave that for later. I told you he's an interesting character. I mean, I've been to work and I went for a good drink in Cleethorpes at the weekend. That's as good as it gets for me. But like I say, we have definitely pulled in the big guns tonight, and Alex is definitely GearyCast royalty. So I welcome you back, Alex. Let's start big. Malaga are mathematically safe. Was you always confident in this, Alex?
Confident maybe is the wrong word, but it's that sort of benign sort of just, I guess the word would probably be ignorance of, or maybe not ignorance, but just the confidence of us staying up. Maybe the way we play football, sometimes you think, oh, it could actually get quite tight. But in the back of my mind, there was a little bit something just telling me, surely not again. Like, it just can't happen again. I refuse to believe that we can get relegated to Primera Ref again. And I just didn't even allow the concept of playing in the division below come into my thought process. So confidence, maybe not, but I think I just rejected any thought of relegation and thought, it can't happen. It can't happen. We'll do it. We'll be all right. And well, we are.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. And suppose I had the same ignorance thought. I believe we were too good to go down. Things were getting very scary at one point. Was there a particular turning point in the season where you say season in the past couple of weeks where you actually thought, no, we are in a mess here?
I think it's when you look at those results, and I think it was when the chat around Sergio Pellicer's future really came to light, and when we started thinking, is it time that we sack him and bring someone else in to save us and bring us up the table? I think when you look at that period of results after the win against Ferrol, where we lost 3 on the bounce, drew with Eibar, it was, even when we were playing all right, like we weren't playing brilliant football, but we were in games. We lost 1-0 to Huesca and 1-0 to Cordoba. We drew 2-2 against a decent Eibar side. I think when you're playing, and I'm not going to say we were playing well because we weren't, but when you're in games and you still can't win, and you feel like, I didn't see Malaga giving any more. I thought that was probably our limit. Yeah. And that it feels bad to say, and I don't want to be overtly critical towards Sergio Pellicer, but when you feel like this can't get any better and the results are bad, you're losing and you're picking up a point every 4 games, that's when you start to worry, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to look at it. I mean, who was it? Real Oviedo, Merino on goal, 93rd minute. Huesca scoring a winning goal in the 96th minute. The performances wasn't great. We kind of stuck in a rut. And I mean, I've got in my notes where I've looked back. The moment for me, although we didn't go on to win the game, was young Rafa's goal in Iparua to take a point from Eibar. From that moment onwards, I just felt, one, that's a big point to stop the rot a little bit. But we were in terrible form. Pellicer, as you said, Alex, Pellicer's pressure were growing and growing. Teams like El Dente, Real Zaragoza, Sporting were all picking up points. They had the new manager bouncers. But since that moment, Malaga's gone on to claim 9 points from a possible 12. The only game that we have lost was obviously last week against El Dente, when we had 10 men for what, 85 minutes. For me personally, without performances really improving too much, I just think the players, and more than anybody, Sergio Pellicer, really rolled the sleeves up, knuckled down to business, and kind of decided, actually, we want to be in this league. We know how hard Primera can be. We cannot do this again.
Yeah, and I think also we got a bit of luck. You look at the teams we beat. Castellón, not playing the best at the moment. They were, I think, to a point also in that group of teams worrying. We caught Granada at a good time. I think if there's anything consistent in life, and this is a little shout out, death, taxes, and Aiden, a depressed Aiden outside a Granada stadium or an away stadium saying we played, and then the 4-letter swear word that begins with S that I'm not going to say. Those 3 things for about 6 weeks felt like I saw it every week. Maybe it was my brain playing tricks on me, but I think, we caught them at a good time. El Dente, obviously fighting for their lives. I think that was always going to be a tough game, and it's that thing of, we go behind. Do you have any confidence in us coming back? And like you said, playing the game with 10 men doesn't help. But I think the performance against Sporting Gijon, and we'll get onto it in a minute, I think that was the sort of the grit that you talked about I didn't think we had that. I didn't think we had that in us. I thought we're just going to roll over and die. Sounds quite serious, but we're just going to roll over and let whatever happen. But we didn't, and we got a win.
I mean, I'm always a huge fan of the thought of nobody comes to La Rosaleda for an easy ride. I believe we can beat anybody at La Rosaleda. So looking into the last maybe 10 games with, I think it was 5 home games, still Burgos to come, obviously. But when a few people were putting their league predictions down, I had us quite comfortably surviving. And if we get 3 more points, I was absolutely correct. So for my haters, get ready. But yeah, so like you just mentioned, Alex, Granada at home, I fancied us. Castellón at home, I fancied us. Probably games that early on in the season we wasn't actually winning. I mean, I put the stats up about La Rosaleda the other day. We've played, I think it was 20 games, 10 home wins, 4 losses and 6 draws, which, yes, from the outset isn't. It's not perfect, is it?
It's
but then you look at the defensive record. We've conceded 10 goals at home. for a newly promoted team. I mean, in the league in whole, we've kept 15 clean sheets. I think Burnley's just done that in the Championship, and I know it's a completely different league, and they're getting raved as one of the greatest defensive teams ever and stuff like that. And you're like, we know our issues. We know attacking play has been our big problem this season.
Yeah, I think the goals, and that is the thing. And I think, I can't remember who said it. It was someone in our Telegram group. And if you're not in it, do find a link somewhere. I'm not sure where you can find the link. I'm sure if you text Chris, Luke, Matt,
Chris will find it somewhere.
anyone, just ask anyone, they'll find it and they'll send you. And you want to talk to other Malaga fans about the latest defeat or draw. Someone said, "Oh, we're getting this money from the Dean Huijsen deal. Maybe we'll spend it on a striker." And I was like, "No,
that's not how Malaga works. That is not how Malaga works."
And I think I remember seeing that and thinking, that about sums it up, really. I mean, I don't want to name players, but you look at that front line, if it wasn't for the kids, there's not a lot of exciting stuff going on up front, is there?
No, not at all. And seems like you mentioned that transfer, Alex, I suppose we can skip on to that one, I guess. So a bit of transfer news away from the club. Former academy player and predicted superstar for many years, Dean Huijsen, has completed a transfer in the summer to Real Madrid. They have activated his release clause. Alex, I suppose you know a thing or two about Real Madrid. What do we know about this deal?
I mean, it's, I think, a deal that Real Madrid were going back and forth. We saw, I think we've all seen the news of one week it felt like Real Madrid were all in for it. Next week, we heard that Chelsea and Liverpool and Arsenal were the teams leading the race for him. And I think ever since he's come to light, perhaps since his time at Roma went under Merino, when Merino gave him that game time and we saw a glimpse of what he could be, and then his move to the Premier League and how well he's done at Bournemouth. I think this is a deal that Real Madrid have eyed up as the perfect signing in that sense. He's a relatively cheap player. Yeah. They've spent not a lot for, if he didn't have a release clause, Bournemouth could have asked for close to 100 million for a player like Dean Huijsen. So to get him in, they've got Raul Asensio. They're sorted at centre back for the next 10 years. Yeah. Obviously, bringing in backup and injuries permitting and all that. But for a player like, we all know the quality that Dean Huijsen has for Real Madrid, it's the perfect signing, and good that Malaga can get a little bit of money. But I think, as is always the case with Malaga, one bit of good news comes along, and shortly behind it is a bit of bad news as well, isn't there?
Yes, there definitely is. So, as Alex has mentioned, Malaga do actually receive some money for the Dean Huijsen deal. It's just under €500,000 by the looks. However, news has came out today that Malaga owe Argentinos Juniors just under €500,000 conveniently. So this is for the signing of, and write this name down, guys, Esteban Rolon. He signed in 2017. Rolon cost Malaga €3.5 million. And of course, as you can tell, he was not a great success at the club. He then went on loan to an Italian club. I can't remember. Basically, he made about 30 appearances for Malaga. Alex, is this a blow, or is it just something we generally accept under the terrible ownerships of our good friend Sheikh Al-Thani?
I think we've come to accept it, whether we like it or not. We just have to, really.
Yes.
I think if you're looking for a silver lining, we haven't lost any money. At least we've got the money from the Dean Huijsen deal, and then we're having to pay this. You know, your dad gives you 20 quid, and then you have to pay 20 quid at the pub for a few pints. You haven't lost any money. You're even. So at the end of the day, if you want to look at a silver lining, we're not forking out close to $500,000 to pay to a club that we probably couldn't have afforded otherwise.
Yeah, it's quite scary when you think about it in terms of running a football club as well. I mean, why the hell has this just appeared out of nowhere? And then you think, how many dirty transfers was there over the years? And of course, Malaga's been stung more than anybody in terms of clubs owing money. Our good friends Braga for Ricardo Horta and Roberto deals. Have we ever seen that money? Will we ever see that money? Nobody actually knows. And I'm sure that we could talk about them kind of subjects all day. Just a little bit more off the pitch Malaga news. They have wasted no time in tying down two key players. Dani Sanchez signed a deal yesterday. It's a contract extension until 2027. And the news has just been broke, which we all thought we knew already. Izan Merino was announced that he has also signed a deal until 2028. Alex, I'm a huge fan of Izan Merino, and I think he's got a very bright future. Is this good work from Loren?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And I think when you look at the core players in that squad, maybe perhaps the core of the squad that you want to keep for the future, I think those two are players that you want to keep around. And Izan Merino, obviously being one of the youngsters that has attracted, and I think will continue to attract interest from bigger clubs, and signing him down to a deal for another 3 years just gives us that extra bit of security that if a club does come knocking and offers us however much they want to offer, they have to pay that money. They're not going to get him on a free, which I think is the main thing. So good news, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, great news. I mean, Dani Sanchez has been one of the most improved players at the club in my eyes. But regarding these and Moreno, I think Malaga, and I use this word lightly, I think Malaga have learnt from the Antonito deal. You've got a huge product there, and you kind of fail to realise how big that product can be. I mean, for me, straight after the goal in Tarragona, whether he was the greatest player for Malaga at the time or not, you tie him down. Like you just said, Alex, no matter what happens with Izan Moreno, Malaga, if he is to move on, are now guaranteed some money. Antonito Cordero, therefore, is going on a free transfer, also, we believe. I just think that is a huge mistake. This is something they potentially learn from. We hope. But Malaga don't always learn, do they?
No. And, well, for a club like Malaga, they can't afford to forego whatever it may be, 200,000, 100,000, 2 million, whatever amount of money it is, they can't afford to forego it. So if in a year and a half we get a club coming knocking for Izan Merino, we're at least going to get some money for him.
Exactly that. And just a little bit more news, what was actually broke before we came on air there, that the Burgos fixture, the last game of the season, has been announced. It's been confirmed as a 6:30 kickoff on Saturday, the 31st of May. I'm over for that one, and I am very, very much looking forward to it. And something else I'm looking forward to, Alex, is talking about Saturday's night's victory in La Rosaleda against Sporting Gijon.
Yes. Well, let's get into it. They've ideally placed that Burgos game just before the Champions League final so people can, well, go and watch the Burgos game and then head to the bars and watch Inter Milan against PSG.
I even totally forgot about that one, Alex. I may try and stay sober for that event now. But obviously, yes. Saturday night, La Rosaleda, real party atmosphere. There wasn't, again, another edition of Malaga's Recibimiento, an event where thousands of Malaguistas welcomed the team bus with chanting, flares, waving flags, a real unity of the club. There was also another event taking place on the pitch before the game. Alex, Atletico Malagueño lifting the Tercera Federación League trophy. Great to see this in the ground, surely.
Yeah, and I think a few players in there that might be playing a more active role in this team in perhaps even weeks to come and years to come, hopefully. So always good to see them succeed and hopefully some future gems in that team.
Yeah, there's some talented boys in that team. Obviously, Chupete coming through, even without mentioning Aaron Ochoa, Maloney's and Merino and so on. But the lifter of that trophy and captain Angel Recio was named on the bench for that game with Sporting. Starting 11 basically staying the same, other than Alex Pastor and Victor Garcia coming in for the suspended Einar and Dani Sanchez. So the actual starting 11 was Don Alfonso Guerrero, Murillo keeping his place, Alex Pastor, Nelson Monte, Victor Garcia, Antonito, Izan, Luismi, Lobete, La Rubia, just playing off Chupete up top. Alex, were you happy with this starting lineup?
Yeah, I like it. I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. I think it was after the Eibar draw that I'm all for, and as much as now that it's been confirmed, so we don't have to worry about it too much. But in a club, the first team should take priority. And if a youngster is good enough to play week in, week out for your first team, put him in there. And Chupete has proven that once again. I mean, 2 goals I mean, obviously we haven't got to our award ceremony for the season yet, but I think he's a shoo-in for young player of the year, if not player of the year. If you look at the rest of the team and you look at his stats this season, he's started 9 games, he's played 17, he's got 4 goals for a youngster coming through at his age. We know he's been firing them in for fun for Atlético Malagueño, but if he can do it at the top level, put him in. Doesn't matter if you're 12 or 38. Put him in.
Yeah, he's had a fantastic season, and I've just put the stat underneath. Chupe grabbed his 33rd goal of the season, 4 for Malaga first team, like you alluded to. And I'm not being funny. You come into a new surrounding. Malaga are a huge club. We play with 30,000 fans in attendance every game. It's going to take a couple of games to get to find your feet. And we're not the most attacking team. We don't create chance after chance. He doesn't miss too many. And this was proven, as we're going to talk more in detail about, this was proven more than ever on Saturday night. And speaking of Saturday night, Alex, I was so happy and quite very surprised. I don't believe he was ever going to play. I think it may have just been more of a bit of a morale booster, a crowd booster. But hey, Dani Lorenzo was back on the bench after 4 months out. This is great. A great name to see back on the team sheet.
Yeah, I think he's been missing it. It's one of those things where you get used to not seeing him on the pitch, and then you think, oh, how good it would be if we had a player like him. And then here he is back on the bench. I think at this point, yes, maybe give him 20 minutes, 30 minutes here and there, but don't play him from the start in any of these games leading up towards the end of the season. That they don't mean anything. We're up. We're not going to get relegated. There's no risk. Just maybe give him 20 minutes if you want to. But to be honest with some of these players, I'd look at this team and say, if they believe that they're going to be part of our plans next season, let them go. As in, like, let them go on holiday. Play some youngsters that maybe want to get some opportunities and play a little bit more, or play some players that you want to sell on the market. Put them out in the window, so to speak. These players, the footballing calendar has become so congested over the last couple of years, and especially this year. And I think, fortunately for a club like Malaga, it's just the league really that you have to worry about unless you make a cup run. But these players, give them the break that they deserve and have them come back fresh in July for pre-season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, at the end of the day, we've got 2 free games, basically. The Malagueño boys have proved how good they are, like I mentioned a minute ago, but we've got players like Rafito, Recio, Ariaza, all players who's been part of the first team at some point. Get them in. Just give them that experience. I mean, they've got a tough night in Elche at the weekend, but what that'll do for the confidence will be huge. And then at Burgos, let them experience that 28,000 fans in La Rosaleda. It is only going to improve them as players and get them ready for when required next season. I mean, maybe this season you look at when the names are on the team sheet, you think, it's just another kid. But your players like Antonito, Izan, Merino, Aaron, Cho, Maloney, they didn't really play for Malagueño. They skipped Malagueño because they were that good. So these players in Malagueño are proving that they are good. I mean, I'm not being funny, Alex. They're only, 2 leagues, 3 leagues? I think it's 3 leagues below Malaga first team now.
Now they're up in the Segunda Ref, aren't they? So 2 leagues below Malaga. And as well as the youngsters, looking at one specific number 11 in that squad, Mr. Kevin Medina, prove yourself. Play him in these last 2 games. There's been a little bit of chat here and there about, is his time at the club coming to the end? Is he all that he's been made out to be? Put him in there. If he proves himself, good. If he doesn't, maybe think about trying to offload him.
Exactly that. And there's no better time to do it now than when your contract's running out to show that you actually want to play for that badge. But back to Saturday night, Alex. It was a decent start to the game for both teams, in truth. I thought Sporting started well, but I also thought Malaga had the chances. Chupete having a volley saved after 15 minutes by former Malaga man and great goalkeeper Ruben Yanez. Happy with the start?
Yeah, I think when you come into these games, especially when there was so much riding on it, we needed to win. We needed to, I think, not put a foothold in the game, but we couldn't afford to go 1-0 down. I think coming out like the way we did, and Sporting as well. Now they're barring I think they are safe. Obviously, I don't know off the top of my head their head-to-head record with Eldense, but
I think mathematically Eldense still have a chance. I saw earlier.
Yeah, so they're obviously fighting for their lives as well, and we didn't. I think at this point we didn't know the Eldense result, as that was on Sunday.
Yeah.
So to come into this game, I think Pellicer would have drummed it into to the players beforehand and gone, this is the biggest game of our season. There's so much riding on this, not just on the pitch, but financially. You look at the money that you get from TV being in Segunda and being part of that La Liga umbrella, I guess, compared to being in that Primera Ref. And we all know how difficult of a league it is to get out of. We see teams in there that go down and never come back. I'm looking at some of those teams in the first one, in Group 1 and Group 2, that are struggling and are getting relegated. Fuenlabrada, not too long ago, they were in Segunda. You look at Amorebieta, you look at Ibiza, who dropped down, and they're struggling to get back up. Nastic as well, who are in the playoffs. Teams that go down and we never see them again. And it was so important. And I think I was glad to see us come out with a little bit of an intent. It wasn't gung-ho, but I think there was still that urgency, which I think we've lacked through large parts of this season.
Yeah, and that urgency continued again for both teams, really. On the stroke of half-time, both goalkeepers brought into action. Otero for Sporting hitting a great free kick from 35 yards, which really did skip off the service. But the ball, again, just stuck in Don Alfonso's hands. I mean, is it just what we expect from the man? I mean, for me, this looked a really difficult ball to save. It really skidded up and gathered so much pace, and that was just simple. It just calms your nerves, doesn't it, a goalkeeper like Don Alfonso?
It's one of those things where I think trying to make it into a metaphor somehow, but it's, again, death, taxes, and Alfonso Herrera making the save. It's I think the game I always think back to is against Castilla away last season, where he made that magnificent save. I don't know if you remember it, where it was a shot, a close one, but it sort of deflected and he had to change his position. And at the time, I was like, oh my God, what a save. But in my head, I was also thinking, he's going to save this, isn't he?
Yeah.
And you get used to it. Like you say, it's sort of that, don't worry, it doesn't matter who we've got at the back. Nelson Monte, Alex Pastor, Ainao Galilea, Alfonso Herrera is going to stop it. So, yeah, I mean, like I joked earlier, I don't know whether he has any glue in his gloves, but maybe he does.
I mean, for anybody who didn't catch too much of the action last season, I'm sure that YouTube, if you typed in Alfonso Herrera highlights or something, I tell you what, it'll be 5 of the best minutes you'll ever watch, because this goal, you run, like we've said at the GaryCast, you run out of words for that guy. I don't think it was a bad half all from Malaga, Alex, but maybe starting to get a little bit nervous as we needed the points. We couldn't risk Eldense potentially winning and us having to go to Elche next week and trying to take a win there after the title. We had to take advantage, didn't we?
Yeah, I think when you look at the team, it's a relatively young team. I think when you look at our back line, a little bit more experienced, but Pastor and Murillo are under 25, or Pastor being 25. That midfield, 18, 19, 24, and the forward line, 23, 20. That's where the experience, I think, or the lack of experience shows, I think, and it shines through in that when you don't take control of the game and you start well and you don't see the results, you start to panic a little bit and you start to think, oh, is this coming? And do we have to change something? What if they score? What do we do? And then the mindset is completely gone. You've wasted that first 45 minutes. And credit to Sporting for making the most of that. I think perhaps Malaga not making the most of their decent start and Sporting doing so. But I think that's where that lack of experience really shines through. And it's going to happen when you play youngsters. There's good things about playing youngsters and there's negative things.
Yeah, 100%. And coming into the second half, it was a great start by Malaga. David Arubia hitting the bar just 54 seconds in with a diving header. Yes, a header from David Arubia. However, on the hour mark, it was heartbreak for Malaga as Juan Otero scores a header of his own, Sporting 1-0 up. Alex, could this goal have been avoided?
Better marking, better defending. It seems to be the story. I think if I had £1 for every time I've said this on the GearyCast, I'd be a rich man. And same old story again, isn't it? Cross into the box. You know where the ball's going. Get in front of your man. Get to the ball before him. I'm not a professional footballer, but you'd like to think they would drill that sort of thing in training. You play football for a large part of your life, Luke. I'm sure the amount of times that you've shouted at a centre-back and gone, what on earth are you doing there? Probably with a few more expletives in there, but get in front of your man. You're a centre-back. You've got to have that presence. And they weren't there. It almost felt like, they were like, yeah, you go ahead, mate. You have a free header. See if you can get that pass. We've got Alfonso Herrera in goal, so he'll just save it. That's not always going to happen, despite what I've just said. So, yeah, I think you've got to give credit to Sporting. They made the most of a sloppy defensive moment from Malaga.
I honestly think, Alex, we've conceded this exact goal at least 4 times this year. It happened in recent weeks, and I'm trying to think, and I can't remember who, but I remember Panicelli scoring for Mirandes in La Rosaleda, the exact same. Because I remember slating the 2 centre-halves. I'm not sure which way around it was, why is Alex Pastor not talking to Nelson Monte? Why is Nelson Monte so not close to his fullback, but why is he getting drawn out? There is one centre-forward. The ball wasn't exactly whipped in from the byline. It was maybe like a bit more of a quarterback kind of throw. I just don't know. I just think...
And it's not exactly as if Juan Otero is 6'4". He's 5'10".
And taking nothing away from Juan Otero, it was a great header. And again, to beat Alfonso Herrera from there. But we praise our defensive work so much. The stats are unbelievable. But there's just so many times where they just seem to switch off. And again, at an absolute vital moment in the game, which, not very much like Malaga, turned out to be a positive, I guess, because it kind of like rejuvenated Malaga. It made them think we need to take something from this. And I will actually praise Sergio Pellicer here. He wasted no time in changing things as he brought Manu Molina and Dione on within a minute, and he got a huge reaction. After great work from David Larrubia outside, Malaga replied quickly thanks to a lovely, lovely flick goal from Chupe. Huge goal for him personally, Alex.
Yeah, no, I think, like you said, completely agree with the fact that I agree with it, but also it's so frustrating that we do react like that. I think good that we do, but you shouldn't have to concede a goal to start thinking, blimey, we've got to get something out of this game.
They have the talent. Why can't we be on the front foot?
Exactly. And you talk about that start into the second half, the header. It feels like there's moments where they get a break and someone talks to them. Listen, lads, we're playing well here. Be calm. Keep at it. Don't throw this away. Where they have moments where they're forced to react. The halftime team talk. They go 1-0 down. Like the goal, it feels like it's been the story of not just this season, but for quite a few years now. Of we go 1-0 down, and then God, there's a game of football on. We've got to start. We've got to start doing something now. And like you said, credit to Pellicer for making those changes, and I think bringing on those 2 more experienced heads just to calm things down. It would be easy for us to go 1-0 down and then throw caution to the wind in a negative way, in that sense of just throw the kitchen sink at Sporting Gijon. But there was still half an hour of football to play. There was still a long way to go. So I think, a good reply, and just frustrating that we have to concede a goal to get that sort of reply.
Yeah, and this reply was so important to come as quickly as it did, because the longer the game went on, the more the nerves would have gone on, the more the crowd were backed up. I do personally think if we hadn't won at the weekend, we would still be safe regardless of El Dente. But as mentioned 2 or 3 times, I would definitely not. I don't fancy our chances in Elche, whether players first 11, kids, anything. It's going to be a very, very tough night. But that was not required, because on the 82nd minute, La Rosaleda erupted. Goal, Chupete again grabbing his 33rd of the season. 2-1 Malaga. Another great finish from the young man. And we are kind of boosting him up here, Alex, but I think he definitely deserves that. A massive goal, and the ability shown by Chupete to score these kind of goals in these very, very crucial moments of a season. I just think he's going to be some talent. I really do. And yes, he hasn't scored 10, 15 goals in 19 games like everybody thinks he should do, but he's a young boy and he would have learned so much from this season.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you say he's not going to score 10, 15 goals, but he's the third top scorer of the season. And the other two above him, well, David Rubio, who also has 4 goals. Antonio
Is that
Gijon,
more our problems though, Alex?
it is. But for a youngster to come in, 4 goals in 9 starts, it's magnificent. And for him, if it wasn't for him, I couldn't really see the goal coming from anyone else. It takes those moments of brilliance. That flick that you mentioned for the first goal, it was something that you think you'd see from a player of 28 who's been playing in this league for years and has scored 15, 20, 25 goals a season. But he has that calm nature to him. And the mistake, we got a bit lucky with the mistake from the Sporting defence for the second goal, but he didn't panic. He made the most of it, and we were 2-1 up. And if he can improve, he's not the finished article. He's still very raw. He's a youngster. That's completely understandable. But if he continues to improve and play well like he is doing, whoa, in 5 years he's going to be some player.
Yeah, and I like the way you said then, Alex, to take advantage of a mistake, because I don't actually believe in the last, say, 4 seasons. We had a bit of Ruben Castro. We never saw the best of him, but I don't think we've actually got a striker to take advantage. I dare say Roberto made his goals, being the actual workhorse he was. And I see a bit of everything in Chupete, because he does work. He puts a shift in. He's a strong boy. You don't see many defenders chuck him off the ball. I mean, he's only 20 years old. And I think I said this on the pod 2 weeks ago, Dione is not the player he once was at any level, but he is, or until recently, is the all-time top goal scorer in Primera. The history records don't lie. Chupete can learn a lot of Dione in those kind of situations. And again, he finished like a proper number 9 on both of these goals. The confidence to try to flick. The second goal to take 2 touches, relax, and then slot it past goalkeeper. These kind of moments are only going to benefit a player.
Yeah. Playing first team football, getting the experience, and when things go wrong as well, which is, I think, what we saw with Antonito when he missed the penalty. It's good to have those moments, because you don't go, pie in the sky and you think, oh, wow, this is brilliant. I'm going to be the best player in the world in 4 years' time. You remember that football is a hard game of football to play, is a hard sport to play. There will be ups, there will be downs, and it's about going through those, not getting too high when you do well, not getting too down when you play badly. So for him, every minute he's on that pitch, he's getting better.
Yeah, and just to say a final bit of loving for Chupete, I saw some stats earlier that he actually has earned the most points for a team since January than any other team. I think it was Albacete who signed a centre forward who's earned them 8 points. By this, I mean scoring winning goals, equalisers. Chupete's earned us 6 points, Alex. And if you take away those 6 points, we are in the deep shit right now. But there was 6 minutes of injury time. The full-time whistle blows. Malaga are safe. We have secured our place in La Liga high promotion for next season. Did we deserve the points, Al?
Yeah, why not? I think we reacted well to going behind. I think the offside goal for Sporting was a good decision, and this is why it's good to have VAR, because you get a decision like that in Primera and it doesn't get overturned. So I think at the end of the day, maybe a draw was the fairest result, but at the end of the day, like I said, if you take your chances and you score your goals, that's all you can do in football.
Yeah. And I'm glad we won, to be honest, because both teams knew that a point would pretty much get them safe again regarding whatever Eldense did. But for Malaga to go on, show the grit to get the 3 points. And again, just prove that we're not a bad team. And I mean, you look at the league table now, if we're not going to win our next 2 games, or I don't personally believe it. If we do, we can potentially finish 9th. That is how quick this team. I think we're 2 points off Cordoba in 10th or something.
We're on 52, Cordoba on 54, Eibar are on 55.
And 2 weeks ago, we were in a deep relegation battle, as Cordoba once was, and as Depor was, and teams like that. The league turns that quickly. It's one of the craziest leagues, and it's not just this season. Year in, year out, Segunda is the most unwritten league table you can ever know.
It is, and like even with the promotion battle, Mirandes winning and getting that second spot, they win their 2 remaining games. They're in La Liga next season. I mean, what a story that would be for a team that what was it, 9 players they started with back in July, August. I think it was. Quite a few people probably did. Some story.
I think it was 2 days before Malaga played Mirandes. They had, I think it was 13 players, a couple of kids, and God knows what the hell has happened, because our predictions, Alec, mine, yourself, and Nick Bell's, we're not a million mile off, but Mirandes, we all had going down, and I think we had them as rock bottom. So we had a real Chumbo moment there, and smoothly, I'm going to move into the Chumbo, which I don't really like to give in performances like this, but we have to do it, Alex. Who is your Chumbo from Saturday night?
I don't want to give it to him, but I'm going to give it to Izan Merino. I think I don't know. I don't think he did anything awfully, but I think when you look at his influence on the game, I didn't see enough from him. I don't think he had a shot, let alone on target or off target. He got hooked after an hour. Yes, his passing was fairly accurate, but I didn't see a lot of. I think it was an off day for him.
Yeah, and I think this podcast is going to be very much poetry emotion, because I myself has also got a very tough one after a big result like this. I've also gone with Izan Merino. I'm a huge fan of the kid, but after his fine form in recent weeks, I just don't think he really had too much of an impact on this game. And his passing stats have been unbelievable in recent weeks. It did drop slightly this week, but again, I'm nitpicking. He's a young lad, and we got the points, we survived, so who really cares? Biznaga, Alex.
Do I have to say this? Is kind of obvious, isn't it? Chupete. I couldn't give it to anyone else. It'd be rude if I did. 2 fantastic finishes. A performance of a player that's been playing in this league for, like I said earlier, 10, 15 years. He had shots on target. He was in and around the area. He was winning duels. He was getting involved. He was, like you said, you see bits of everyone in him. You see the Roberto workhorse. You see the skill of a player like Ruben Castro, and as again, one that we perhaps didn't see to its fullest, but we see glimpses of good players in there, and he's put it all in together into this really good package. And I have to give it to Chupete.
Yeah, and I cannot argue with one bit of that. It's as if we've rehearsed this, which this isn't a Chris Marquez gimmick. We definitely haven't. I think this one's just obvious. A Chupete. And just to add to that, Alex, he's a fan's favourite already. The crowd love him. I have got a couple of honourable mentions. Ball for Alex Pastor and Victor Garcia. I thought they both had fine games coming back in. La Rubia was electric as per recent weeks. Interestingly, Alex, I'm going to chuck this one at you. How many assists has David La Rubia got this season? To say he's had a great season in my eyes.
6.
Saturday, David La Rubia's first assist of the season.
His first?
Which is absolutely mental. He assisted the first goal for Chupete. These stats are all off Sofa Scores, if anybody would like to check them up. He is having his best goal-scoring season with 5 goals, and he has had a very, very fine season and will be up there for the awards. But I could not believe my eyes when I saw that was his first assist of the season.
My God, I would not have had that.
No way on this earth.
No, I think I'm interested to know who our top assist in terms of this season.
Well, I never checked that bit out, but
do you want to know who it is?
Antonito?
Yes, 6.
So you're talking corners, right? Corners, free kicks. I suppose Larrubia doesn't take them, but I class him as our most creative player. And when you think he's had a very, very good season, creative player, 1 assist, you're like, what's going off here?
But I guess at the end of the day, it's you look at a player like, and I can't believe I'm about to compare Larrubia to Pedri, but
interesting.
It's not about the stats at the end of the day. You look at Pedri's numbers and you think,
yeah,
it's nothing amazing.
But
you watch him play, and you think, obviously, I don't quite get the same sensations when I'm watching Pedri as David Larrubia, but it's the influence they have on the pitch, and I think David Larrubia is a very solid player.
Yeah, I think again another player very much like Dani Sanchez, who has came on leaps and bounds. I think that's about it. Alex, have you any plugs? Any Champions League? Any dates with Alexander Sorloth? Your broski?
No, nothing lined up. The season, as you know, is coming to an end. It's if you're thinking, obviously, that the Premier League is quite exciting in terms of the Champions League spots, but if you're a Spanish football fan, I'm sure you'll have your eye on that bottom of the table battle as Leganés welcome Real Valladolid to Butarque and Espanyol face Las Palmas. And if anyone from the Canary Islands is listening, we're all hoping for a point at least for Las Palmas this weekend against Espanyol for our Leganés boys.
Alex is very much the Madrista king these days. He has every Madrid team covered, and as he's said at the beginning of the show, he's very much a Lega boy at the moment. Do you think they can do it, Alex?
You've got to believe. You've got to believe. And I was speaking to the players after the game, and that is it. Do your job, win the game against Valladolid. Just hope that Las Palmas can pull off some magic against Espanyol.
That's it. And for yourself, Alex, I hope they do. If not, I hope we absolutely smash them next season in Segunda. But that is all for this week's review episode of the GearyCast. The stresses are finally over. Actually, no, it's Malaga Club de Football. The stresses are never over. But Malaga have confirmed their place in Segunda for next season. 2 games do remain this campaign. I, myself, will be in La Rosaleda for the last game against Burgos. Alex Ashmore, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to pod with you again.
Thank you very much. And, good to... Hopefully it's not however long it's been. I think it has been about a year since we're on the pod together. Hopefully it's not another year until we're on the pod again together.
I only see you on TV and Twitter these days, Alex. But most importantly, thank you to you guys listening and watching back home. If you have enjoyed tonight's episode, please give us a little like, a 5-star review. And if you really enjoyed it, don't be scared to subscribe. I am Luke Chambers. You've been listening to the GearyCast show. Hasta luego. And as always, vamos Malaga. Oh, wait, one more thing. Come on, you Spurs!